We are in agreement on one. Let's put certain facts to rest.
Okay.
All three of us in agreement that...
All four of us.
All four of us. That judiciary is not different from other institutions of the country. There is massive corruption in there. Massive corruption in there. And I'll tell you, I was shown the case of somebody who was trying, took a matter, a civil matter to court to claim for a certain amount of money. And the magistrate, because this is a parastatal, this is a government body, which the presumption is that they have got very deep pockets. And the amount that the lawyer is asking for is more than twice what he was supposed to recover. You get my point?
You mean his legal fees?
His legal fees.
Okay.
And of course that is in agreement with whoever was giving him that contract, whoever was giving him the brief must have been in agreement with that. And then you look at this kind of pending bills right now for lawyers in the country. It's crazy. It's crazy. It runs into billions and billions of shillings. And there is no way in which these things can be taxed properly, and you can say no. LSK can come out into the front and say we cannot accept this. The judiciary will say we don't accept this. This is an abuse. You know what I mean? You're denigrating and destroying the reputation of the institution itself and the profession. I agree with them. Wait for the piece of legislation itself to be enacted. Let that now come before you as the courts and then strike it down as unconstitutional. But you cannot go and say that in Parliament cannot, enact this piece of legislation. Let them go ahead. They have the independence to do that, including enacting an unconstitutional law. But then it will come before you. When it comes before you, there you are. You say it's unconstitutional. Strike it down.
Okay, to be
that is the way, that's the practice.
Which is the example that in this case you want to give? Because in the case of the finance bill...
I think is it
the omnibus question?
The major complaint is the stopping of the deliberation.
Absolutely. Yeah. You cannot stop the deliberation. You can't stop Parliament. You can't stop Parliament from conducting a parliamentary process. You can't.
Actually,
you wait until the process itself is concluded. Let them go ahead. Let them pass a piece of legislation. Let them even have a presidential assent. Let it appear before you, and then you strike it down.
However, it may...
Hang on a minute. Okay. Hang on a minute. You strike it down. That is how it is. That is the independence of this institution to make laws without any interference from any other arm of the government. You get my point? Even if the president is unhappy with that, you can override him with, you know what I mean? There's an overriding what they call a majority. And the president can refuse to assent to a law, a piece of law. Parliament can override him. You know what I mean? And then the matter comes again to the judiciary. When it comes to the courts is when you strike it down. But you can't tell Parliament. You cannot carry out a parliamentary process. It's like Parliament right now coming out and saying through a resolution of the House, the courts cannot hear this and this matters. You get my point?
Okay.
It works the other way around. Hang on a minute, let me tell you.
Okay.
It works the other way around.
Okay.
When a matter is before the courts, you see, this independence itself is that nobody should interfere with the independent process of an institution or rather one of the arms of the government. That's why if a matter is before Parliament, if a matter is before the courts, we cannot debate it in the House because it's sub judice. It's sub judice. But you see, there has to be what you call a reciprocal process in which the judiciary gives Parliament its freedom and waits until this matter comes before it. You see, what Parliament can do, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
A bad law, a repugnant law, whatever it is, Parliament can determine that and say, okay, we remedy by repealing it, amending it, you know what I mean? Doing whatever you have to do. And then finally it becomes a piece of legislation, it's law. At that time, the courts cannot say this is a repugnant law because it's there, it's constitutional.
Okay.
It is, you see, everybody has got to be able. And then when it comes to the executive has a limited time to execute its own programs and projects. Hang on a minute, let me tell you. This is the reality of, we are living in what you call, there's something called sociological jurisprudence. We are living within a society. We are not living in isolation there in some kind of a utopian place. Everybody is supposed to be given a certain, like I'll tell you, for example, I have programs in my own constituency. And you know, anybody can run there to the courts, pay something little out there, and get conservatory orders. So you stop a program. That program itself is probably a concessional, a conditional loan. It has a certain limit of a period, and if it stays for too long, it is going to be withdrawn.
Okay.
And the same thing also happens, let me tell you, when it comes to investors coming in. The reason why investors are not coming in The reason why investors are wary about investing in this country is not because the executive is attacking the judiciary, no. It's not because Parliament is attacking the judiciary, no. Because there's a corrupt judiciary and you can have your matter out. Let me just finish.
Okay, a lot of mix-up. Okay, a lot of mix-up.